So here is another simple interview question. How do you add columns to a data frame? So you know what a data frame is, a bunch of rows and columns. And sometimes you might want to add more columns to a database or a data frame. For example, imagine this data frame. It has two columns, column A and column B. Think of it like the dimensions of a flower, the length and width of a petal. And now you want to add a new column, column C, that identifies the species of the flower. So we want to merge this column C into this data frame and create a new data frame or modify the existing data frame so that it now has three columns, column A, B, and C. How do you do that? Well, let's work with our iris data frame. Iris has 5 columns, right? Let's see. Iris has 5 columns: length, width, and a species. So let's divide this data frame into two just to see how to add columns. This has 5 columns, right? Column 1, column 2, column 3, 4, and 5. I want to create a data frame with just these 4 columns. Call it iris underscore something, like iris underscore small. It's a small data frame. And then I just want to add this as a new column and create or recreate the original iris data frame. So how do you do this part? Just extract 4 columns. So iris underscore small, this is how we are creating a new data frame from just a subset of another data frame. So iris of, we want all the rows, let's say, but only have columns 1 through 4. So 1 colon 4 says it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's how you get this smaller data frame. And to get this little slice of the data frame, all you got to do is iris underscore, let's say, species equals iris of, you guessed it, comma 5. So this means that give me all the rows but just the 5th column, right? So let's do that. Iris underscore small equals iris of all the rows, and that's why you don't specify anything and then put a comma, and then when you want to specify the columns, you can just say 1 colon 4, or you can just say combine C of 1 comma 2 comma 3 or comma 4. Since it's just an array of numbers 1 2 3 4 in order, you can just say 1 colon 4. Okay, that's iris underscore small. And then we want to have iris underscore species as iris comma just the 5th column, all the rows but the 5th column only. Now let's see what is the small data set and what is the species data set, right? So this is what we expected. Iris underscore small, all these 4 columns are here. What about this guy, iris underscore species? Because it is just 1 column, it's not shown in the column format, it's shown in a vector format. But believe me, it has everything that you need. Now what we want to do is combine this column, which is essentially this, as the 5th column here. So essentially what we are doing is we have split up this huge data frame of 150 odd rows into one data frame of 4 columns and then just a vector of 1 column. And then we are trying to recreate that data frame. We are splitting it and then adding it up together. The point that we are trying to learn here is how to add a new column to a data frame. So let's do that. So how do we do that? The way we do it is with iris underscore original equals Cbind. Cbind stands for column binding. So we are trying to bind a vector, which is a column, let's say, as a column to a data frame. So what are the parameters here? The first parameter is iris underscore small, which is the data frame, and then the column itself, iris underscore species. Okay. Now what is iris underscore original? Let's do a head. Do you see that? So initially we had all these 5 columns, and then we have split it up into a data frame of 4 columns, and then we have set this separately as a vector. And finally what we have done is we have used Cbind and then specified this data frame and then specified this vector, the column. And R has combined all these 5 columns together, the data frame and the new column, right? The new column was added. So let's quickly recap. So we have split the iris into 2 parts. First part has 4 columns. The second part has just 1 column, which is the species. And then using Cbind, so this is the function that's used to bind 1 column to a data frame. The column that we are trying to bind is this, the species column. And the data frame that we are binding to is the rest of the iris data frame. And you see that this is what has been bound actually. Now this is one way of binding columns or adding columns to a data frame. Another way to bind columns or add columns to a data frame is by using the dollar operator. We know that when we refer a data frame dollar something, we are referring to a particular column, right? So when we have the iris data frame and then we say iris dollar sepal length, we are referring to this particular column only. Or iris dollar species, we are referring to the species column. If you want to add a new column to an existing data frame, you could just say data frame dollar, this is the new column equals, you specify what the new column is. And that's exactly what's being done here. Data frame dollar species is a new column, it doesn't exist yet, equals the column that you want to add, which will be typically be a vector, right? So let me erase this and then let's redo this. What is iris underscore small? Iris underscore small is just the first 4 columns of the iris database or data frame. We want to add the species column, right? So iris underscore small dollar species. So this is the new column that we're trying to add to the data frame, equals iris underscore species. That's a vector of species. Now what is iris underscore small? Simple enough, right? So we had 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we said the data frame dot, this is the name of the new column, equals the vector that we want to put into that new column. And that column got added to the new data frame.